And joining me now is Tara Setmeyer, co-founder and CEO of the Seneca Project and former Republican communications director, and David Corn, Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones and MSNBC political analyst. I will start with you, David. I mean, I think a lot of people who watched, and we all watched the January 6th committee day to day, kind of missed Pam Bondi a bit. But she was a lot more involved, and now she will have the reins of the DOJ, theoretically, if she gets confirmed.
We have a government coming in that's full of people who pushed the big lie, which means they try to overturn American democracy. I don't think we fully have absorbed that as a nation. I mean, of course, it's Donald Trump leading the thing, but people he's picking, and even the interviews that they're conducting during the transition, basically ask people, do you believe the election was stolen? So they're only taking Trump big lie loyalists, Kash Patel being one of them. But, the Justice Department, of course, is supposed to protect the laws and defend the Constitution. She doesn't seem to be qualified, given what she did in 2020. But there's another thing here, too. Trump has promised, maybe in the first 9 minutes on the first day, to pardon those rioters that we just showed that attacked the Capitol. The pardon office is in the Justice Department. Pardons, they can go directly from the president, but they're supposed to go through justice. So here you have Pam Bondi, supposed to protect the law, who probably will be involved in this massive operation to pardon the people who tried to overturn the Constitution. It's all absurd. It's all bizarre. And it's what we're going to have to live with for the coming years.
And you take her and you combine her with Kash Patel. What do you get at DOJ?
Yeah, you get a Justice Department that is no longer independent. You have two people who are basically sycophants of Donald Trump that will do whatever he wants, which is what he said he was going to do. And the combination of the two of them together should really scare the hell out of every American who believes in the rule of law. I recently spent time with one of the Capitol Police officers that testified with January 6th. And it broke my heart, because how do you look at those guys and the men and women who defended our democracy in the Capitol that day and say that you can still have faith in our country and our democracy when the American people voted in someone who had no problem with those people assaulting them and defecating and smearing it on the walls of our Capitol and threatening to kill Nancy Pelosi and our own vice president and hang and put gallows. Like, people forget, we have like collective amnesia in this country about what happened on January 6th. And all of them have been rewarded by being put back into power. And it should not be okay. There are millions of Americans who are not okay with this. And they need to express that. And the Democrats need to also show collective anger. If the Democrats they're the ones that are immediately in the pathway of letting Donald Trump do everything he wants to do and letting these people do it. They've got to make it more difficult. They may not be empowered directly, but they can still make it more difficult and fight for the tens of millions of Americans who are not okay with this.
Can I just say very quickly, because, on January 20th, when this inauguration happens, to your very good point, and on January 6th of next year, I do think about it, and I've gotten to know some of the Capitol Police officers and the Metro Police officers as well, personally, and I think about them just going to Walmart or Home Depot and having to run into the people who tried to kill them. The person who hit them with a stun gun or bear spray or beat them, and then they are now free because Donald Trump says they're the victim. And then these Capitol Police officers, it breaks my heart to think they're going to walk into some Home Depot somewhere and their assaulter will confront them and literally feel a superiority over them.
Feel emboldened. There's something very fundamentally wrong about that.
Yeah, well, you have Kash Patel, who has put forward the conspiracy theory that, that agitators and Antifa created January 6th, absolving the people who we saw actually doing the violence. And, he and Pam Bondi will be the top law enforcement officers in our land. So people who were there that day fighting the protesters, trying to guard our democracy, or anybody else who's a cop, who's now a Capitol Hill police officer, they're going to look up and say, these people, they're supporting the criminals and the thugs who try to destroy the constitutional order. What does that mean for me when it comes to me putting my life on the line?
Well, there's a certain oxymoron here. It's the lawless now in charge of the law. What does that say? And it just is so infuriating that the American people, even though they said, well, no, we don't think that's a good idea, but we're going to vote for Donald Trump anyway. I mean, we have to defend our institutions. We have to defend those concepts still if we think that we're still going to have a country that we can be proud of. It's time for Democrats to step up, and for those of us, even though we can get exhausted, but that's what they want you to do.
Right.
They want you to be exhausted.
Let me go to another institution.
The moment.
This is an institution I think matters a lot. It's the military.
Yes.
You know, it's typically been the most respected institution in the country. I want you to listen to Pete Hegseth, who is theoretically the person who would be manning and in charge of the 3 million members of our United States military. Here he is on a podcast, Newt Gingrich's podcast back in 2021, and listen to what he said about January 6th. Take a listen.
There are reports, in the New York Post and elsewhere, and just from, common sense, that Antifa folks took advantage of this to try to get to the front and try to agitate and create openings for themselves. They want chaos, ultimately. I could even spot it. You can see the helmets where there's a, Donald Trump bumper sticker on the back, quickly put on it so they could look like they wanted to stop the steal, but what they really wanted to do was further the narrative.
That's not true. And he would be in charge of the military that theoretically would be unleashed on American protesters. I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, it's not even not true. It's crazy. Yeah. And it's Soviet style. We're going to tell you that you didn't see what you saw with your own eyes. We're going to make
on
up
TV.
Yeah, on TV. We're going to make up a cover story that somehow a few people infiltrated this and got thousands of Trump supporters to break down the doors and and deface the Capitol. And we're going to expect you to buy it and believe it. I mean, going back to Pam Bondi, and we saw her on those press conferences, she is lying. She's saying there's evidence of massive fraud when there wasn't.
Right.
I mean, you can say we want to look at things. We have some concerns.
You can file as many lawsuits as you want as a candidate.
But they just said it was massive fraud. They supported a guy who declared victory before the votes were counted. And now they want to be taken seriously.
This is where the Republicans, who, if they had any decency and actually believed in the oath that they swear to the Constitution, that they would question all of this during the confirmation hearings. And say, and that's why I'm not voting for you, because you are unqualified. This is disqualifying. You are part of something that went to the strikes to the heart of our cornerstone of our democracy, and you are part of it. You are not qualified to be the leader of the Department of Justice.
In a million years, think anyone would do that? Lindsey Graham won't do it.
Unfortunately, that's my point.
None of them.
That's my point. But to your earlier point,
and they need to be held. They need to be shamed for it.
That's a bridge too far.
They'll never.
To your earlier point, I want to see the Democrats get up there and say, you said that there was massive fraud. Was there massive fraud?
Yes.
Do you believe there was massive fraud? Are you lying? How can you say you want to run the military, which involves processing intelligence and analyzing things? You really believe that Antifa stirred that up? I want them to ask Kash Patel about his exaggerated claim that he was the lead prosecutor on the Benghazi case when he wasn't.
Yeah. All of those things.
But to do it not politely.
No.
But fiercely, with the point that, if they're going to get through, they got to be told, Robert Kennedy, why did you lie about
And here's the thing that
measles
Democrats don't understand is that the confirmation hearings are a television show.
That's correct.
It's a television program. You probably cannot stop the nomination, but you can put things in the record that the American people cannot look away from. Democrats do not have the power to stop these people from becoming defense secretary or becoming attorney general, but you cannot make it, you can make it hard.
That's right.
And you can make it unpleasant and you can make it uncomfortable and force the American people, even watching Fox, who are watching that show, to get access to the truth, give them access to the truth, because trust me, Trump and his team will give them no access to the truth. Tara Setmeyer, David Corn, it's dark days, but we love having friends around to commiserate.
Do not obey in advance.
Do not obey in advance. Anticipatory compliance is a bad idea in democracy, and we're still a democracy. And being a republic doesn't mean you're not a democracy. Look it up. Tara Setmeyer, David Corn, thank you very much.